Hello, good evening, and welcome to another live episode of the BCSN SportsWrap. I'm Brian Fulford. That's A.D. Drew. Drew, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine, guy. I'm doing fine, and I'm gonna save all the chit chat and the small talk and the introductions because we got a special treat for everybody coming up right here at the top of the show.
Right. Want to say hello to everybody who took some time out to come in and join us early. We got a special treat for you here coming up. Want to say hello to everybody who's watching wherever and however you're watching us. You might be watching us on the JBN online, my JBN online. That's the Jericho Broadcast Network's YouTube page, or you could be watching us on the Black College Sports Network via X, Instagram, Facebook. I think I got it covered there in all of those many places. So however and wherever you're watching, hello, thanks, and hit the thumbs up button or the like button wherever and however you're watching the show. So, Drew, it is without further, I can't hold it back. Without further ado, because we on this show, we've been doing this for a long time, and we make a lot of friends, and we, hopefully there are no enemies out there, but we make a lot of friends on this show, and it's always cool when you make friends with coaches and good coaches, but especially when you make friends, when you can say a friend of the show is a head coach from a rival school, a rival institution. That's love. And so let me introduce, for the first time in Bethune-Cookman University history, the 2025 Southwestern Athletic Conference regular season baseball champions, head coach and friend of the program, Coach Johnny Hernandez. Coach, congratulations, Coach. Congratulations and welcome back to the show. How you doing, Coach?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. I'm humbled, with the words, that Brian, you had, and definitely, this friendship has grown throughout, the last couple of years, and I'm a big supporter of what you guys do, not only on Sundays, but what Doc and Charles Bishop and the team does on Tuesday and Thursday nights. I tune in, not on Facebook because I can't give it away that I'm watching. I watch it on YouTube, but man, I've seen this thing grow for the last couple of years, and I'm just so humbled by those words, man. And thank you for everything that you guys do covering HBCU sports and baseball. Because not a lot of people do that, and you guys do a really good job of going in depth with everything. So glad to call you guys friends, and might as well just be families, at the end of the day.
Well, we can't be family until after Sundays. Once we get off of this podcast, much respect. First of all, much respect to you and your program. But once we end this podcast, I got to wear my orange and green pride. It's when we go heads up. Now, quietly kept, Brian, I am kind of going for the state of Florida. Just so
we got to root for the state of Florida.
Just so I could piss off the rest of the SWAC.
Exactly. But Florida versus everybody, Coach. Florida versus everybody.
Listen, man, at the end of the day, we can only, control what we can, and our guys have done a really good job the entire year. Our assistant coaches, the coaching staff has done a phenomenal job with our student athletes, and the support that we have from our administration is second to none, so this is not possible, without the support of everybody. And there's a lot of people behind the scenes that don't get a lot of credit, but, this is a total team effort.
Coach, talk a little bit about that, the emotions of, look, Texas Southern, you guys took it all the way to the last day, needing that one win on Sunday to clinch. But talk a little bit about the emotions when you look at that picture and you see those young men that have been in the program and you guys have been grinding. You guys have been like right there on the edge of winning a championship, whether it be a regular season or the conference tournament, and to look at the expressions and to see, hey, we got the job done. We got it done. What kind of thoughts and emotions went through your mind in that moment?
Just everything. And when I talked to the team, post game, this all started with each and every one of those guys, entrusting us and our university with their not only athletic career, but with their academic career, and the work that, we've been able to put in together for the last, 6, 7, 8 months, kind of came to fruition. And this was one of our goals that we set out for this year. We wanted to end the regular season over 500. We wanted to get to 30 wins, before the postseason. One of our goals was to lock up the number 1 seed as we head into the SWAC tournament next week. And just very happy, very proud of again, the work that our student athletes were able to do, and just trusting the process. And you're right, it took, the last game of the season to be able to determine who the number 1 seed is. And, I'm so fortunate and glad that we were able to get away from divisions and play the season how we did. If you look at it, for us in particular, it seems like we've been playing playoff baseball for the last 4 or 5 weeks, starting off with that FAMU series a couple of weeks ago in Sanford. So kudos to the SWAC for the way that everything, finished off, and how the schedule kind of worked out. And you couldn't ask for anything better to play for something on the final day of the regular season.
Right. Go ahead, Drew.
Coach, you already mentioned that you love the new regular season format. Now let's fast forward. Let's talk about the postseason format. First of all, in an oddity that only the schedule makers could have this figured out, we will play Texas Southern for the 4th consecutive time to open up the tournament. That's number 1. And then number 2, we're going to see some matchups on day 1 that we have not seen in the tournament, because it's always been East versus West on day 1. Now there will be some East, West type matchups in the tournament. So just in general, just talk about the format, the seeding, and how you like the way the 2 brackets are broken up this year.
I think that the bracket's going to show a lot of parity within the conference, to be honest with you. The only thing that we're worried about is, we have to focus, on Texas Southern for Wednesday, and then whatever happens after, it is what it is. But we can't worry about what anybody else is doing, or what the bracket may look like or not look like, or speculate what will happen, can happen. For us, again, it's just worry about what Bethune-Cookman is going to do. We have to be able to execute. We have to do what we need to do. And like we mentioned, right, we just came off playing a series against Texas Southern, where in years past, that series was something that, was not going to be seen until you get to the conference tournament. So, I like the fact that we're able to finish off with them. Just like them, they're able to see some things maybe, that they can use against us, and vice versa. So, again, we're just worried about, Texas Southern. It's going to be an early game. It's a 9:00 game. It is what it is. There's no excuses. It's going to be an early wake up call. It's going to be a 5:30 wake up call. And this is something that we're not It's not that we're not used to, but we went through this last year. If you remember, last year we were at the 9 a.m. bracket also. So I think that works as an advantage to us because we know what the routine is. Once we knew that we locked up the number 1 seed, it was call the hotel, set up breakfast 6 a.m., 6:30 we're leaving. Like we have our routine down packed from the experience that we had last year. So I think that this is going to be a really competitive tournament, like I've said in years past, and I'm just looking forward.
All right. Also, Coach, first of all, if you guys haven't figured it out, Coach is actually on the road. They are heading to Birmingham right now. Where y'all eating at right now, Coach? What city are you in?
We're now in Columbus, Georgia, if I'm not mistaken, and just had a scatter stop. Some of the guys went to Chipotle, some guys went to Outback. There's just different options for the guys to eat. And, we left about 10:30 this morning, and we figured we just use, Sunday as a day to just use it as a travel day. So then tomorrow, we'll get a light workout in, and then Tuesday we'll have the workout at Rickwood Field to get ready for Wednesday.
Speaking of Rickwood Field, just talk about the ability to play. Is the oldest ballpark in America. A lot of times, it's always an honor when our HBCUs get chosen to play in minor league ballparks or MLB ballparks. But this field is a little bit different because of the significance of it. Negro leagues played there. Minor league teams have played there. Just talk about the significance of playing in that particular venue.
Yeah, I think the mystique and the nostalgia of the ballpark is going to bring an added atmosphere, to the SWAC Baseball Tournament. So, we're fortunate where, we play our home games at Jackie Robinson Ballpark, and we spent some time at historic Sanford Stadium. So, our program is not is accustomed to playing in significant ballparks, man. And, I'm a big guy for history, especially in baseball. And, just the fact that our program is being able to have an opportunity to play at Rickwood Field and share the history with our student athletes here at Bethune, I think is second to none. And yes, we're going to be there for baseball, but I think that, it'll be a disservice to our program and our student athletes if I don't talk to them about the rich history that's been there at Rickwood Field. So that's something that I'm going to make it a point for our guys to understand that.
Last question. Will you guys get a chance to get to the Southern Baseball Museum while you're in town?
That's going to be a plan, man.
Business trip?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a business trip, but at the end of the day, we have to take into account, right? We play at 9 o'clock in the morning and we have the whole day, to kind of see what we want to do. So I think if it matches up, that's something that I definitely want to do. If I can't take the whole team because they're resting, then I brought my son, on this trip with us to Birmingham. So it's something that we'll take some father-son time and head down there.
All right, go ahead, Bryan.
Hey, Coach, I'm going to be the first one to say it. I don't know. I don't have a vote, but if I had a vote, I'd nominate you for SWAC Coach of the Year. You should get it. I say that with all love. And, I think you guys have showed with the 33-21 overall record, 24-5 conference record, definitely worthy of the honor. But I want to talk, as we talk about postseason awards, young man Daniel Figueroa finished the regular season now in conference games with a batting average of .519, on-base percentage leading the SWAC at .600. And again, these are conference games. Talk a little bit about Daniel and what he has meant to this team. I'm sure there are plenty of players that are worthy of honors, and hopefully it comes through for you guys. But talk a little bit about Daniel, as he will be, I think, in the running for SWAC Hitter of the Year or SWAC Player of the Year.
Yeah, he's been good. He's a senior. He's been here for 2 years. Junior college transfer, and he's one of these quiet dudes, man, that just leads by example. Doesn't really lead with his words, and there's a situation for him, and just like that, there's a plethora of players that are able to acquire those awards in the postseason. But again, that's up to head coaches, SIDs. That's far beyond my control. So for our guys, it's a situation for them to be recognized, and hopefully they do with the amount of work that they've been able to put out. But he's been with us for 2 years, and he's a guy that we're excited about moving forward.
And then on the bump, I had a chance to witness how good your starting pitchers are. And there's you got a nice 1, 2, 3. Might even have a few other guys that you tucked away, ready for the tournament. But pitcher of the year. I'm not going to ask you to name one, but talk a little bit about your pitching staff and how those young men are prepared and ready for this tournament.
No, I mean, it goes with everything, right? I think, in my opinion, if you look at what, and I'm just moving around here real quick, some guys are getting on. So,
no, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. No, man, in a tournament like this, it's going to come down to pitching. How many times have we been through this tournament where there's a surprise pitching performance, right? You have to be able to get quality arms, experience throughout the entire season to be able to have an opportunity at the championship at the end of the day. So, if you look at it too with us, with Tanner Bocabello, who, arguably before the injury at UAPB was in the running or a candidate alongside, Granger from FAMU for pitcher of the year candidates, both of those guys, it opened the door for some other guys to get opportunities and to step up in times where we needed to. And, the entire pitching staff has done a really good job of stabilizing what we want to do and what we want to try and accomplish. But at the end of it, you have to pitch, you have to defend, and again, once you start getting into day 2, day 3, maybe even day 4 of the tournament, you're going to have to rely, whether it's on your midweek starter, whether it's a long reliever, or whether it's a guy that maybe, statistically the numbers aren't good, but he has enough experience against quality opponents out of conference that are going to be able to serve him well during the SWAC conference tournament.
Right. One last question here from me, and I'll give it to Drew. Now, we saw the use of challenges in the softball tournament be a very big thing. In fact, it was the final call that decided the championship. Now, I'm assuming replay will come into play again for the baseball tournament. And given the fact that it's not in use during the regular season, what are your thoughts on the use of replay? And are you already in a strategy mode, or do you have that experience from the previous tournaments to kind of lean on?
I think one of the things that instant replay is something that us as a conference within, the head coaches in baseball, we should make it, a situation where we have access to instant replay, right? Because we use instant replay, not in conference, because not all of us have it, or I don't think anyone has it to my recollection outside of maybe one program. But when we play our out of conference Division-I games, whether we go to Florida, Miami, Florida State, Stetson, all the schools, at least in Florida, that we have been able to play against, there is replay available. So we're very, very well versed in the rules and how we can use it. You don't want to burn them too early, right? Because you don't want to be in a situation when the 7th inning, you may need to use it and, you burned it early. But I think it is. I think that that's vital. And I think that it's great for the game to have instant replay. If you feel that, maybe the call was wrong and you saw something different, it just allows, not to say that the umpires do a bad job, but if there is a bang play, it gives us an opportunity to go back to replay.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Drew.
Last question that I have for you. We can get you out of here on this one, Coach. Bethune-Cookman wins the 2025 SWAC Baseball Tournament if
everything goes our way. Listen, it's something, it's one of our goals, and like it is, I think that this tournament's going to be very competitive. It's going to come down to, like I mentioned to you, you got to pitch, you got to play clean defense, and when the opportunities arise to score, you got to score early and often, right? It's a situation for us that, I think we're in a tough bracket, right? We got Alabama State, we got Jackson State, and we got Texas Southern. But again, we can only control what we can. And as long as our guys do what they need to do, and like we've been doing all year, don't let the highs get too high, don't let the lows get too low, So it's something special, that we acquired during the regular season. But like I told our team post game on Saturday after we secured the number 1 seed, it's not who piles up first, it's who piles up last. So now we get ready for this part of the season where you throw your records out the door, everyone's 0-0, and everyone has a legit possibility to raising the SWAC championship trophy on Sunday.
Definitely. Well, I plan on being there Wednesday morning, Coach, to watch you guys play. Uh, Depending on traffic will depend on if I actually get there for opening pitch. I'm coming out of Atlanta, so you know how the traffic coming out of Atlanta is. But I definitely plan on being there for your game along with the FAMU game. Let's go state of Florida. So.
All right. So again, first pitch, the first game of the tournament. Again, Bethune-Cookman, the number 1 seed versus the number 8 seed, Texas Southern. Two teams very familiar with each other as they just played this past weekend in a very tightly contested 3-game series. It is 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. Coach, safe travels as you're almost there to Birmingham, and have a great couple days of practice. And again, congratulations. Thank you for stopping in on the road and sharing this with us. Again, congratulations. And we look forward to that all-Florida final. That's what we're rooting for, an all-Florida final.
Nah, I appreciate you guys, man. Anytime, that we're able to talk about our program here, especially with, 2 Rattlers, right? It's always a good thing. But no, man, I sincerely appreciate your friendship, both of you guys, and, the support that you guys have. And looking forward to seeing you guys in Birmingham. And, if there's anything that I can do for you guys, I'm a phone call away. So thank you very much. And I appreciate everything you guys do, especially during the baseball season, covering the baseball season how it should be. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you, Coach.
Take care, Coach. All right. Again, Coach,
we just end the podcast right here, Brian.
Huh?
We just end the podcast right here.
Look. There's not too much. There's not too much left after that. I know folks might want to know what the tournament bracket and the schedule and all that stuff looks like. But again, let me put out and show the final regular season standings again. Bethune-Cookman with a half-game win. Of course, they were 1 game short that they didn't play. So essentially, they needed to win their final game of the season against Texas Southern. Texas Southern won the first game of that 3-game series. I'm ignoring EA. Won the first game. What was the score of game number 1? Game number 1.
It was like 8-5.
Hold on, I'm pulling it up now. It was 5-2. Game number 1 was 5-2 in favor of Texas Southern, and for Texas Southern that was big because they just got road stomped in 2 of the 3 games they played against FAMU at home. So to travel and get a win on game number 1 was huge for them.
And if I remember right, Texas Southern had lost like at least 6 in a row. They had been swept in their last 2 series coming into Bethune. I don't know how far back
they were on a bit of a losing streak. I mean, you see them in the standings coming in at 8, and I mean they needed every bit of a break to make it in as the 8 seed because they were going in the wrong direction. And game number 2, Bethune's bats woke up. They defeated Texas Southern 16-4, which then, of course, with Florida A&M playing Alcorn and winning and sweeping that series, expected to sweep that series, it really meant that Texas Southern Bethune needed to win the last game of the series. And I'm telling you, it was a close game. Final score 10-8. It did. I think Texas Southern got a run or an insurance run there at the end of the 7th or 8th inning to hold on to that. So congratulations. They end up winning it by half a game in essence. As you can see, the 3 seed ends up being Alabama State as they solidly take care of business in their final series. I forgot, who did Alabama State play in their final series?
Valley, I believe, wasn't it?
They ended up sweeping though, whoever it was. No, it may have been. Hold on, I'm pulling it up now. Let's see. Final series. Oh, Prairie View. That's right. Prairie View. And that essentially knocked Prairie View from, I can't recall if Prairie View was 9 going in.
They were.
I'd have to go back and look at
flip that. I believe Prairie View was ahead of Texas Southern. But what was interesting about that, Brian, was the fact that despite Prairie View's record, if they wind up flipping that around and getting one game and wind up 14-13 by win percentage, they are in ahead of Texas Southern, despite having fewer wins.
Yeah, that's so thank you. G Boom says they were tied for 7th going into the series with Alabama State. Ended up losing all 3 and missing the tournament.
And I think that would have one win actually put them ahead of Southern percentage wise.
Right. UAPB comes in as the 4 seed, 17-9 conference record. Winners of 5 in a row coming in. Let me see. UAPB's final weekend series was against Alabama A&M, which they swept Alabama A&M. I think they may have even moved up from the 5 to the 4, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, which
they flipped spots with Grambling.
Right. They flipped spots. Grambling, of course, you can see is the 5. They won 2 of 3 in their final series, finishing 18-11. Jackson State won 2 of 3 to close the season out, I believe, against Southern. They finish as the 6th seed. The 7th seed is Southern, who won, I think Southern won the opening game of that series. If I'm not mistaken, I'm looking now.
I think it was the other one. Jackson won the opening game. I remember right.
Well, you might be right. Actually, one of the games was canceled, so you didn't get a full 3-game series between Jackson State and Southern. So essentially, Jackson State won the 2 games. So Southern, and well, yeah, it wouldn't have mattered percentage points, because even the thing that might have been interesting is, had they played that 3rd game, Woods and Southern lost. Wood Southern had the tiebreaker over Texas Southern, because one team would have played the 7 as the 7th seed, one would have played the 8th.
The Southern had the tiebreaker. Southern swept Texas Southern.
You're correct. Right. You're correct. So that's how that ends up.
And Brian, also, it should be noted that come Saturday morning, everything was wrapped up except position number 1 in the tournament.
Correct. Okay, good point.
Teams were already locked in to their positions when they played on Saturday.
Right. Let's take a look at the bracket format. Now, it's interesting to note, now, unlike the softball tournament, again, we have to point this out. This is unlike the softball tournament. Okay, the softball tournament is sort of 8 teams, and you kind of play from 8 to 4 to 2, and when you lose, you fall into a loser's bracket, right?
I can break this down for you real simple, Brian.
Well, I mean, I'm just comparing it. I'm just starting off by by letting people know it's different.
Yes.
And as you can see, there's a bracket A, and then you'll see there's a bracket B. Yeah. Okay, so I don't know what. Go ahead. I don't know what you were going to say, but go ahead.
The SWAC Baseball Tournament is 2 4-team, a double elimination tournament. 2 4-team double elimination tournament, unlike softball, which is a single 8-team elimination tournament. So with the 2 4-team double elimination tournaments, the 2 winners come out and play on Sunday in a winner take all.
Right. And just for clarification, so that everybody understands, in baseball, unlike softball, there is an 80% rule.
Softball
Meaning,
has 100%.
right. Meaning in baseball that you only have to technically play 80% of the games, which in a 30-game regular season, that's 24 games.
Correct.
Once you've reached the 24-game mark, everything is decided by win percentage. So again, why that win percentage matters. And if you caught Dr. Cavill's show either Tuesday or probably Thursday.
It was both days.
Okay. He did a great job of breaking down how the final weekend and the percentages would matter. And that's why the last game of the regular season mattered, because without that 30th game for Bethune-Cookman, which I believe, I don't know who was, I can't recall who.
They got rained out.
It was who?
Last weekend, they got rained out on Sunday.
Right. So they technically, by win percentages, were a half a game either ahead or short. So that's why they needed to win. So even though Florida A&M and Bethune both had 24 wins, they needed. Now, in the case of Bethune had played, let's just for EA's purposes, because I know, even though I know you guys don't want me to explain it to EA, he may not be the only one that doesn't understand this. If Bethune and FAMU's record were both tied at 24-6, Bethune had the tiebreaker.
Yes.
By virtue of sweeping FAMU during the regular season. So this was sort of the oddity where, Drew,
it benefited FAMU.
It benefited FAMU, right? That Bethune was a game short.
Right. Because a loss.
Because a loss would have given them the regular season.
A day earlier.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
It actually made it come down to Sunday. Because if that series plays out, Bethune only needed one game of the final three instead of two games of the final three because they were one game short.
Right. All right, let's get into the brackets because, again, it's fascinating, I think. Now, one thing that Drew noted, and he pointed this out, normally when you have an 8-team tournament, break down what we traditionally see when we see an 18 tournament, Drew. How's the seating usually go? In
that A bracket, you
have no. Just what when we normally see an 18 tournament, you see 1 versus 8, so and so versus so and so,
2 versus 7. Well, 1 versus 8, and then 4 versus 5 on the line below them.
Right. So the winners of those 2 games would meet in the next round.
Right, and then on the other half, you would have 4 and 5. I mean, you would have 3 and 6.
Right.
And then 2 and 7, and then those 2 winners play each other.
Right.
So this is
different. This is different. Again, so you get the 1 versus 8, and this is Drew, we were talking offline, and we were debating on, in that old format, you kind of have a benefit being the 1 seed, right? Because you're playing
you're playing the weaker teams throughout.
Right, you're playing the 8 and the 4 or 5.
Yes.
Well, this format where you have the 1 and 8 and the 3 and 6, and then you have on the other side the 2 and 7 and the 4 and 5 is really, it'll be interesting. We can debate, does putting the 4 and 5 matchup on the same side with the 2 and 7 create more of an equitable format where there is no quote unquote real advantage, of course, until they play the games, there's no real advantage being the 1 seed. Am I?
Which brings up the question, why play for the number 1? Because in theory, you go through the marathon to finish at the number 1 position so that you can have some type of advantage, be it seeding, be it time slot, be it something. And this is something that I have an issue with the SWAC basketball, SWAC softball, and SWAC baseball tournaments is that there is no advantage of finishing number one.
I don't disagree, because you're playing at 9 a.m. Now, Coach Hernandez won't complain about it, at least not publicly, to us or to any other media that asks.
And he won't make an excuse.
And he won't make an excuse. No, he won't make an excuse. But I would imagine you being the 1 seed, where's the advantage of being the 1? The only advantage is if you win the first game,
you get maximum rest.
You get maximum rest. You get an extra 5 hours from your first start time to your next. So I don't know. That's kind of interesting that the conference wouldn't make the lower seeded teams play the first games of the morning, which again, the game times, you have 9 a.m., noon, 3 p.m., and 6 p.m. Okay. And so you would think that the 1s and 2s would get the 3 p.m. and the 6 p.m. time slots. That's, but whatever. It is what it is.
And let's take this one step further,
Uh-huh.
which really lets you know, and if the SWAC is, I won't say not caring, but they had this thing, and you fail where you fail, because logically, you would want that Bethune-Cookman and that bracket A to be that 12-6 slot. Why is the other reason, outside of that number 1 seed playing at 12 o'clock? The perennial home team, Alabama State, geographically, you would want them in that 6 o'clock primetime game. If you are looking at ticket sales. And the next closest team, Jackson State, also, that matchup at 6 o'clock for the alumni in those areas in Birmingham, and even for the Atlanta alumni of those teams, would be a beautiful game atmosphere-wise at a 6 o'clock time slot. So, but this thing was already predetermined no matter what happened.
Yeah, I don't know if that level of thought or care and concern went into it. I do have to imagine, the one question I would be curious to ask, did all the coaches have to, agree, approve, or review the time formatting for the 1 and the 2 seed?
Somewhere in a meeting last summer, or somewhere along the line, or on the coaches' call, this had to be brought up in discussion and be motioned.
Okay.
Now, I don't know in this particular case, because it's sports specific, does something like this go up to the athletic directors also for their approval? But definitely, the coaches had to put their 2 cents in on this.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's break this go ahead.
One other thing, Brian.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a byproduct of the old bracket A, bracket B, when we had East cross it over against West. Because if you remember, the brackets always switch time slots every year. So this may be a byproduct of that with the original time slot shifting. When they broke this up, instead of the number 1 East and the number 1 West, number 1 East in A and number 1 East in West in B, this is a byproduct of that, and no one probably even realized this until later, after it was already published.
All right, let's break down bracket A. Bethune-Cookman, Texas Southern, we've already mentioned, 9 a.m. start. Bethune won 2 of the 3, the last 2 against Texas Southern. The winner advances to a 3 p.m. Thursday time. The loser has to play Thursday at 9 a.m. So, a short 24-hour turnaround. Now, the other side is interesting. The Alabama State-Jackson State game, the 3-6. Alabama State, during the regular season, these teams met. Alabama State won 2 of the 3, winning the first 2 games by a score of 6-3 and 4-2. Jackson State avoided the sweep, winning 13-7. Jackson State coming in to the tournament, of course, winning the 2 games against Southern, so a 2-game win streak. Alabama State has won 6 in a row here, sweeping their last 2. Sweeping their last 2. Now, the thing that I saw in this, Drew, if you lose this game, you're coming back with less than 24 hours because you play in an elimination game at 9 a.m. So there's your first potential disadvantage spot that somebody has in the tournament, is having to turn around and play. You finish up by maybe 5:30, and then really all you got time to do is maybe have dinner, get some rest, and you got to be back at the field by about 8 o'clock. So, any thoughts on those first 2, on those matchups on that side?
I mean, Bethune comes in. The hottest team in that bracket is Alabama State, having won 6 in a row, Brian. 3 of the 4 teams coming in that bracket come in on win streaks.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we've got Texas Southern and Bethune, who will play each other for the 4th consecutive time. That's going to be interesting there, Brian. Playing 4 consecutive times.
Yeah. And just in case you're thinking about what the next, if you were to go off of the statistical model of, wins during the regular season, if you end up with a matchup between former East Division rivals, Bethune and Alabama State, it's Bethune who swept Alabama State during the regular season, but they were relatively all close games. 10-9, 4-3 in 10 innings, and 8-5. So those were the 3 games that Bethune beat Alabama State. So, not discounting, Jackson State's ability to pull off a win. Let me see let me look at that. Let me see. If Bethune and Jackson State were to play, Bethune defeated Jackson State 2 of the 3 games, lost the first game of the series 13-2, then turned around and won 9-5 and 15-7. So just in case you wondered about that. And then, of course, as the bracket goes, the 2 losers of game 1, somebody will be eliminated by noon Central Time. And the winner of that game will play the loser of the next game, which is, as you can follow along. And yeah, so, essentially, if you can win 3, let me see, what is it? If you can win 3 straight games, you're in the championship game. Is that how that works? Yeah, you get Saturday off and you're moving right into the championship game. So, that's the goal for those teams on the top half of the bracket.
Brian, since expansion, I don't think we have had a tournament where we have not had both if games.
Really?
Not to my recollection. I know I've been to every tournament since expansion.
So wait a minute, you're saying we have or have not had the?
We have had an if game every year. We've had both if games every year.
Oh wow. Okay. So this is the 4th year. So the previous 3 years we've had the if games on Saturdays.
Yes.
So it'll be
one of those years we played on Saturday due to weather.
Weather. Okay.
The last time we were in Birmingham. I can't remember if the if games were actually part of
by necessity or whether they
right. I can't remember if we actually had to play the if games on Saturday, play the game Saturday because of the if games, or it was just due to weather. But I know the first year in Birmingham, but the last 2 years in Atlanta, we've had to play both if games.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's flip it. Can we flip it over to the B bracket?
Sure. You got the button.
I just want to make sure you didn't have any extra points or nothing you want to get out. All right, the B bracket. This is the 2-7 matchup between Florida A&M University and Southern, and then the 4-5 matchup between UAPB and Grambling. This is in my opinion, this is the most interesting bracket. You have the team with the hottest, or the team with the most wins coming into the tournament, 11 straight, Florida A&M. You have the defending SWAC tournament champions in Grambling State. And then you have a UAPB team, which I charted this out, Drew, since April 11th, right? They have gone 14-3 in conference games. 14-3. And they finished the regular season 17-9 in the conference. So Southern is the team that they're coming in.
Southern
having lost two in a row.
Yeah, but Southern has always been the tournament killers.
Yeah, I guess they have, but I tell you, if they did it this year, I mean, that might be shocking to a lot of people. I think even Carlos Brown would be shocked if Southern was a tournament killer this year. All right, let's get into these matchups. FAMU and Southern is the one series that neither team had. Obviously, you played 10 of 11 opponents in the SWAC. This was the one that did not happen this year. And so it only seems fitting that you get it in the opening game of the tournament. So you don't have any records or anything to kind of go on in this. I don't know. Let me see. They didn't play last year because, of course, last year we were in divisions.
I think didn't they play in like the Dawson or something like that last year? They played early non-conference.
Hold on, they may have played this year. Let me pull up the schedule. Did they play? Yeah. Well, here's what we can hang our hat on. They did play at the Andre Dawson Classic, and Southern beat the brakes off FAMU 17-1. Now that was back on.
That was open
February 22nd, right? And I think we even saw Southern back in February, back when Southern played in the Cactus Jack. And, let me see if Southern was putting up runs. Yeah, they were putting up runs in the beginning of the season. I mean, they scored 8 on Texas Southern. They scored 10 in a loss against Grambling. And then they put 12 up against Prairie View in a win. And so, yeah, and then they put up 17. So, I don't know. That was such a long time ago. I don't know what you take. Do you take anything away from that? But
you also have to think about that with each of these series, Brian. When did these teams match up against each other? I'm going to be better data point on a series post Easter with 2 teams than the series in February and March.
Okay. That's a good point. The 4-5 matchup, I think, is the most interesting matchup of the opening day. What is the time on that game? Is that the last game of the night? Yep. The defending champs. You know, that could also be a factor, Drew. Did the defending champs get the 6 p.m. time slot?
I don't think that was by design.
Okay. Well, interesting to note. But UAPB, who had not been in the SWAC tournament since 2019, this is the first time in like 5 years, 5 or 6 seasons in which they have been in the SWAC baseball tournament. So they had been kind of in a wasteland trying to figure it all out, and all of a sudden they have. So I think they'll be an interesting team. And of course, Grambling, the defending champs. Grambling won 2 of the 3 games in the series. Grambling lost game 1, 6-2. Then they won game 2, 8-3, and then won the rubber match 7-5. And to answer your question about when they played, in the first weekend of May. So, you know, actually, Grambling is the only team. You know, I mentioned that UAPB was 14-3 since April 11th. 2 of those losses came to Grambling. So how the tournament works out again, this is the bracket where you don't have any morning games. You know, everything is either at noon or 6 o'clock. So once again, did the number 1 seed really have an advantage here, Drew? The number 1 seed playing in the mornings or the early afternoon versus the 2 seed getting the midday or evening matchup?
You've already heard my opinion.
I'm just putting it out there. We'll let Wildcat Nation complain to the SWAC all they want. But again, your coach is not gonna make excuses, and those players aren't gonna make excuses. But fans be fans, because I know I would. Any other thoughts here on this bracket?
No, I think that's going to do it for me on this particular bracket. Obviously, in that second bracket, we know who the hottest team is in that bracket.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be interesting, right?
That would be.
Should I go here with this thought? Would you like to see the championship game be a best of 3 series? I know that costs money.
But how do you get to the best of 3?
Well, you play it out the way it is right now.
That means you would have to end this thing a week earlier, Brian.
How about this? If you started on Tuesday, I mean, when do you have to be finished? You got to be finished by what? Sunday?
Won't work.
Yeah. I guess it won't work. All right. How about, I guess it won't work.
I won't. Not if you take 8.
You don't want to do a double header? You don't want to do today?
No. That works if you take 6, Brian. Does not work if you take 8.
Okay. Single elimination.
Unless you keep the bracket, go with a straight round robin to a best of 3. That would be the only other way that worked.
Oh, okay. All right.
But even still, that's 6 games, potentially 6 games for a team. At least
Look,
5.
yeah. Well, I would think you want to play a best of 2 or 3, so in baseball. I mean, you're saying it's not basketball, but baseball is decided by series. I think that's I don't know. Anyway, I get your point. Okay. All right. Let's take a break, Drew, as we've kind of spent a good deal of time talking about, SWAC and SWAC baseball. Let's get into some other news and notes here in the next hour. Huh?
There's other baseball we can talk about.
Exactly. There is some other baseball, so we want to definitely kind of get into talking about some other baseball here on the other side. So again, if you missed any of the opening show, we had head coach Johnny Hernandez of Bethune-Cookman University join us from the road. And so you can always go back and watch that episode, watch that segment in the opening half hour of the show. Share the show with your friends and family. And maybe you're a podcast watcher or a podcast listener. I'd encourage you to go download the BCSN Pod Zone. Thank you to everybody, excuse me, that has been downloading and listening. The numbers are starting to go up, so we appreciate it. And so share the podcast with your friends. BCSN Pod Zone on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple, Google Podcasts, everywhere that you listen to podcasts. You can go check out the BCSN Pod Zone. All right, let's take that break. Come back on the other side. You're watching the Sports Wrap, the BCSN Sports Wrap with Bryan and A.D. We'll be back in just a moment.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural tastes, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Bryan, A.D., Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Welcome back to the BCSN Sports Wrap. Bryan and A.D. here. Looks like our Instagram feed just went off. So, I don't know. I guess kind of good timing, I guess. whatever reason, the Instagram feed only lasts for an hour from the BCSN page. But anyway, so hopefully those folks saw and got a chance to see the interview with Coach. Again, do us a favor, hit the thumbs up and the like button, however and wherever you're watching the show. It's greatly appreciated. Any questions from the chats that we might have missed, Drew? Anything that you starred or anything?
No, I had nothing that I've hit thus far.
All right. Yes, Emmett points out all the games again this year will be on the SWAC digital network.
Except the championship game.
Okay. What's the championship game going to be on?
I believe that's on ESPN.
ESPN. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's on the U actually, but it may be on Plus.
All right. I believe Centoria Black.
Yeah, Coach Kador.
Coach Kador.
That's what I've been told.
I haven't heard whether the other folks like Charles Bishop.
Yeah, Bishop
Simone,
will be there.
Bishop will be there.
I don't know if Simone's going to be.
Charles Edmond, any chance he'll be doing? I haven't heard.
No.
His voice, he might need a break after grinding out during the softball tournament. But Charles is a professional, so I'm sure he knows how to power through that. Have you looked at, I'm just curious, one last final SWAC thing. Have you looked at any of the postseason or the final statistics for the regular season?
I have, but I haven't. I've looked at them as part of my article that I'm working on for Black College Nines, but I've just kind of scribbled and made notes.
First question I'm going to ask is, if you're a voter this year, and again, we understand who the voters are, right? The voters are who? The conference commissioners,
right?
Not the commissioners, but the SIDs and coaches, correct?
I don't know if the coaches participate. These things change every sport. Some of them coaches vote, some of them SIDs vote, some of them both vote. So not 100% sure who votes on this.
There's two different groups because there's usually like a total of 24.
If it's 24, then
it's just a matter of which two groups.
Then coaches and SIDs vote.
Okay. So
if it's just 12, it's one or the other.
So my question is, which statistics would you look at? You're an SID. Conference statistics in a year in which you play all 30 games, or you play a mix of East and West, former East and West, or are you looking at overall statistics?
Usually the rule is, Brian, for these postseason awards, you're only supposed to look at conference-only statistics.
Okay. So if I were to look at the hitter of the year, I think it's a two-man race. Let me throw a third name in there. I'll throw a third name in there. But I think there's a clear two. You have a Cardell Thibodeau of Southern. Finished the season third, batting .438. Led the conference in slugging. Third in batting average. Okay. First in slugging percentage, .893. Second in on-base percentage at .552. And his OPS, which is a combination of the on-base and slugging percentage, was first in the league at 1.445. He scored the most runs in conference play, 46. He tied for the most in hits, 53. He was second in RBIs, 51. Let me see. Any other significant statistics? Yeah, those are the main ones in which he okay, so there's Cardell Thibodeau, right? I mentioned Daniel Figueroa when I was talking to, I brought that question up. Daniel Figueroa led the conference in batting average, 519, the only player above 500, 519 batting average in conference games. His slugging percentage, he was not top 10 in slugging percentage. His on-base percentage, though, was first in the league at .600. And he was fifth in on-base and slugging, which is OPS. He was fifth overall. Now, Figueroa, not in the top 10 for runs, not in the top 10 for hits, not in the top runs for RBIs. That's interesting. The other name that you might want to throw or consider, well, it's one of these. I would go Kelton Phillips of Texas Southern. He was second in batting average, 440. Third in on-base percentage. Ninth in OPS. Third in runs scored. Second in hits. And yeah. So I don't know, Drew. As I say all that, I would, if I had a vote, I'd go with Cardell Thibodeau. What are your thoughts?
Trying to see if I can give you. How about Juan Cruz, Alabama State?
Well, I see that Cruz tied for first in hits. He was fourth in batting average, fifth in slugging percentage, eighth in on-base percentage, and fourth in OPS. I mean, the only area where he didn't have a better statistical year than Cardell Thibodeau was hits. And again, he tied. I got to go Cardell.
Here's the problem. Southern is in seventh. Southern finished seventh. Cruz played on the third place team.
Okay, I think baseball being such an individual sport, Drew, his team made the tournament, so I'm not going to penalize him. It's not like he was on Alcorn State's team leading in all these statistical categories. I mean, Drew, he's first or third in. I'm gonna give it to you again in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The top 7 categories, Drew, he is in the top 3.
Although that is a good year,
That's a great year.
No, not taking anything away from him. But I have to look at best player, best team to see if there is somebody who can compare best player, best team. And I already gave you Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at FAMU, you've got their own Cruz at CREWS, which if I was looking at FAMU, that would be the person I would look at. But if I look at Bethune, and this may be the problem with Bethune, you gotta split votes. And if I'm Bethune's person who's nominated for Bethune, I don't know who I nominate. Do I nominate Rodriguez or do I nominate Martinez? Martinez, 13 home runs, 44 RBIs. Rodriguez, 392 with 11 home runs. Which one of those would I be the? Who do you nominate with that, Brian? Oh, by the way, Martinez batted 373.
Man, can I throw in one other caveat here?
Come on.
How about in the NCAA, Cardell Thibodeau is third in the nation. in the nation, Drew. I'm looking it up. Looking here. Now, Juan Cruz of Alabama State is 13th in the nation. So, I mean, that's not that, so I get the Cruz argument. But third in the nation, Cardell Thibodeau, third in, he's your SWAC MVP. Offensive player of the year. What is it? Offensive player of the year, hitter of the year.
And Brian,
he's that guy.
We do have history. And because FAMU's women basketball benefited with this 2 years ago. 7th place team.
Yeah.
Player of the year.
Yeah. Well, I'd be shocked if call me shocked. Look, as of late, I have been shocked by the voting from the SWAC by the SWAC cabal, but voters. But I would be floored, more floored than what I saw on Friday if Cardell Thibodeau is not your SWAC player of the year. All right, before let's get to some other baseball news, Drew, because I know there was a lot of stuff that happened, baseball and softball. From a baseball perspective, you had the Division-II and NAIA playoffs happening this past week. And I got to give a shout out to Albany State, the Albany State Golden Rams, the SIC baseball champions, participating in the Division-II South Regional Tournament, which was on the campus of the University of Tampa, a beautiful facility for a Division-II facility. I mean, it blows away some Division-I HBCU facilities.
It blows away some Division-I non-HBCU facilities.
Yes, exactly. But
in the middle of the city, Brian.
Yes, yeah. So the Golden Rams would make history on Friday. As Friday afternoon, they secured the program's first ever win against Lynn University in the elimination bracket now, because the way baseball is done, they essentially take 4 teams and play in 16 sites, double elimination. So Albany State had lost the first game to the host, Tampa University. I don't know who Lynn lost to, but essentially it was an elimination game on Friday. They ended up beating Lynn 10-6 in extra innings. Went 10 innings in the contest. Albany State had an early 3-0 lead in the second inning. Heading into the bottom of the fourth, they still had a 3-1 lead before they surrendered 2 runs. The score was tied up at 3. Both teams scored in the 5th inning, so you had a 4-4 ball game going into the 6th. Lynn would score a run in the 6th and a run in the 7th to take a 6-4 lead. Albany State would manage to score 2 runs in the 9th inning. Nate Saavedra and Austin Roberts would help spark the rally, and Trent Justice, RBI single, would bring both of those 2 in to tie the game up at 6 and force, with some good pitching and defense in the bottom of the 9th, they would go into the 10th inning with a 6-6 tie. And it would be Roberts who once again delivered with a go-ahead RBI single, followed by Justice, who capped off. He had a 4 RBI day. He had a 2 RBI single, and Albany State would put up 4 runs in the top of the 10th inning and walk away with a 10-6 victory. Again, the program's first victory in the tournament. Sadly, Drew, the dream came to an end. I'm sorry, say that again.
And then Saturday happened.
And then sadly, it came to an end the next day as Tampa having to play Tampa again. What was the final score on that one when we saw it? Like 20-0?
It was 20-0 in the fourth when I looked at it. What was the final?
Let me see. Hold on. I wasn't even. I'm on their site, but I'm on that page. Let me see if they put it up there.
You may have to go to Tampa to find it.
25-4. Yikes. 25-4.
Looked like a spring football game gone bad.
Yeah. So Albany State concludes their season 31-22 overall. Of course, what seed again were they in the SIC tournament, Drew?
4. They were the 4 seed. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, look, don't underscore it. Don't underestimate it. It's a major undertaking to go ahead and get that win in the tournament. So that's a good boost for the program. So yes, I mean they suffered a tough defeat at the end, but they had a good run. Congratulations, Albany State.
And let's be honest, that's we ran out of pitching run.
I guess.
Yeah, you guessed. How many hits did they give up?
I didn't look at the box score. You want me to go look at the box score? I still got the page open.
How many hits? How many walks?
Oh, jeez. You're going to make me look at the box score. Let me see. 25 runs. Guess how many hits?
16.
Higher.
30.
20.
20 hits.
30. Stop it. They had a bad third inning and ninth inning. They gave up 8 runs in the third, 9 runs in the fourth. Yeah. Tough day.
Was that game short due to run rules? Or did they have to play out all 9?
Looks like it played out all 9.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Come regionals, there is no mercy rule.
Well, I was going to say maybe it went all 9. I know there was no scoring in the 8th and 9th, so maybe it could have ended after 7.
Hit the play-by-play. See if you have any action.
Let me see. Nope, it went 9.
Yeah.
Nope, it did go 9, so it went to full 9. Ooh, that's tough. All right. Well, again, congratulations, Albany State. We won't take away from the historic win. And good job. Okay. I also mentioned the NAIA baseball tournament was occurring, and we had 2 teams, 2 HBCUs in that tournament, right?
Yes.
The Suno
and Talladega.
Right. So Talladega, their run would start. It actually, let me see. I had it up here in a second. Again, going into the tournament, they had 42 wins in the tournament.
Pick up 1.
Huh?
I said they did pick up 1 on day 1, if I remember correctly.
Actually, it was day 2.
Okay.
Day 2. No, I'm sorry. You're right. They won against St. Xavier University out of Illinois. Won 13-2 in 7 innings.
Nice to know the NAIA still uses the mercy rule.
Then they took on the number 1 seed, Georgia Gwinnett College. I believe they were the host school.
They were.
Losing that contest by a score of 6-4. Talladega actually, let me see. No, they weren't. They were never leading in the contest. They cut it to. They got within 2 runs heading into the bottom of the 8th. gave up the 6th run. They did manage to score a run in the 9th, but a little too late. Final score was 6-4. They scored 4 runs on 11 hits, made 3 errors in the contest. And so what that did was it forced an elimination if game against the team that they beat earlier, St. Xavier. And
Second time is not a charm.
The second time was not a charm, as with a 8-7 lead going into the bottom of the 8th inning, Talladega would give up a run, a game-tying run in the bottom of the 8th inning, and then a walk-off in the bottom of the 9th inning. Excuse me. I was looking at the play-by-play here. I can't tell, looking at the play-by-play, somebody reached first on an error by the shortstop, in which you had a runner advance to third and then a runner on third advance home. So most likely a shortstop probably possibly overthrew first base or skipped it, something to that effect. Ended up, Talladega's season comes to an end. 43 wins and 13 losses, Drew. Great season by Talladega, who I think will probably finish as number 1 in Black College Nine's small division poll.
I don't see any reason why they wouldn't.
No, yeah, they definitely should. And Suno, I didn't get a chance to look up how Suno did. Any stats or any info there on how Suno did?
I think they went 0-2 in the tournament. I'm pulling it up right now.
All right. Well.
All right, here we go. Open round schedule. They were somewhere in Louisiana. I got to find the right region. They were in the Shreveport region.
Mm-hmm.
They lost on the 12th to Ottawa of Kansas by a score of 6-0. They came back on the 13th, which was Tuesday, and lost by a score of 16-7 to Mid-American Christian out of Oklahoma. So 2 in barbecue for Suno.
Gotcha.
Right. But Brian, while we're on the NAIA, softball also occurred last week.
Okay. Break that down for us.
NAIA.
Stillman, I believe, was the team in there, correct?
Yes, I believe Stillman was our only representative, and I've got to find them. See, here we are. Stillman was defeated by Science and Arts of Oklahoma by a score of 5-3 on Monday. And then
a STEM school, huh?
Yes, Science and Arts. And that is hard to say because that's just like saying it backwards. Arts and science. And then they were defeated by Freed Hardman out of Tennessee, who has tended to be an NAIA powerhouse, by a score of 7-6. So Stillman was 2 in barbecue also.
All right. Speaking of softball, the Division-I regional tournament, or the Division-I tournament, began this weekend. Jackson State, who won the SWAC, they were in the Tuscaloosa regional, while Howard was in the Duke regional. And both of their seasons came to an end, starting with Jackson State lost their opening round game. Let me see, final score in that opening round game. I had game number 2 pulled up, so bear with me here. In game number 1 against Alabama, they lost 8-0. So again, last year, I believe Jackson State didn't score a run in the 2 games in the NCAA Regionals last year. Well, they broke that streak in the game number 2 in the elimination bracket against Belmont, who was the Southern Conference or the Missouri Valley. I think it was the Missouri Valley Conference champs. Belmont was. So Jackson State got their first run in the NCAA tournament in the top of the 2nd inning. Actually tied the game up at 1-1. And I'm not going to lie, I was watching a little bit of this game, Drew. And this was actually a pretty entertaining game. Jackson State actually had plenty of opportunities, I thought, to score. Left a few runners on the base pads. They would eventually succumb to Belmont, who scored a run in the bottom of the 6th inning. Final score, Belmont 2, Jackson State 1. So overall, a good effort, good performance in that second game by Jackson State. As for Howard University, they had to open up the tournament against Duke, who was the host and the number 14 team. Duke beat them 12-0 in 5 innings on their home field. And then in the elimination game, they had to take on Coastal Carolina. And let's see. I'm looking for the final score here. Actually, Howard did actually score first, as they did get a solo home run in the top of the 1st inning, had a 1-0 lead until Coastal put up runs over the next 4 innings as they run ruled them. The MEAC site didn't put up the final score, but they got a run on the board. So, yeah, I don't know. Have you seen the final score? I'm sorry, I'm sitting here trying to find it.
No, I had not seen the final score.
9-1 final score. Coastal Carolina 9, Howard 1. So Howard scored a run. Jackson State scored a run. So baby steps, progress. We got a couple schools that got a win, a couple schools that got a run scored. All right. Anything else that you want to add? How about the Division-II? Has the Division-II tournament started?
Yes. No, yeah. In softball?
Yeah.
It started and done.
Oh, okay. Bowie State, I believe, was the softball representative?
Yes. They were the only softball representative.
All right. That kind of puts a close to the softball season. I do know coming up, if you're interested in HBCU softball, minority softball prospects who affiliated with, of course, the minority baseball prospects, who you might be more familiar with, they will have an all-star weekend featuring some of the top HBCU softball and baseball players coming up in June. I don't have the exact date.
After the holiday, Brian.
Okay, thank you.
It'll be that Friday and Saturday after the holiday.
Okay.
I think it's 29 and 30 or 30 and 31.
Gotcha. All right. The last one of the other pieces of sports related news that we had over the past week, you had track and field championships at the Division-I level in the SWAC, the MEAC, the CAA. Over in the SWAC, you had Texas Southern on the men's side, Florida A&M on the women's side, winning the SWAC outdoor track and field championships. On the MEAC, you had I was watching a little bit of this as well on ESPN Plus Saturday. Norfolk State won the men's side, and Howard women won the women's outdoor track championships. Then in the CAA, home to North Carolina A&T and Hampton, the North Carolina A&T men won the outdoor championships. And then on the women's side, you had Hampton and A&T finishing second and third. I don't know, was that the order, or did I get that order right, or was it the other way around? Somebody finished Hampton
was second.
Hampton second, A&T third.
Yes.
All right. Good stuff. Congratulations to those. And I think you have the regionals, the NCAAs beginning usually this upcoming or next weekend. Usually.
Yeah. That's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
And Ryan, while we're at it, Division-II track and field championships will be this week. Also I believe in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And we have a number of HBCU athletes, both from the SIAC and the CIAA, along with Lincoln of Missouri, that will be representing us.
Gotcha.
And if you want to go through the list, you can go to this website. It is tfrrs.org. tf.tfrrs.org. And that will give you all of the track results for this season and who's qualified.
All right.
It'll take you too long to go through them individually, Brian, because you have to search one by one through every event to find the one or two HBCU athletes. And in most of these, I believe the top 15 go. So any school that has an HBCU athlete know that they are in the top 15 in the nation in their particular event.
Gotcha. EA, I'm not quite sure which sport are we talking about. EA, help me out here. What sport are we talking? I missed that. One of the things that I have seen a lot of, Drew, I just happened to be jumping on the HBCU Game Day site here. The use of AI to create these either Muppets or cartoon. It's like
we got to get us one.
It's like we done found a new tool, a new toy now. I'm going to turn. Actually, there's a new one I saw where you can turn your photo into a baby photo now. That's now a new, I've seen a couple of those. And maybe even turn videos into videos.
Brian, there might be some people who may not want to do that because then they're going to be like, he don't look like me when I was that age. She don't look like me when I was that age.
Right. Okay, EA, track and field. No, I did not. We'll have a few. Actually, if you catch Wednesday's ONG Strike Zone, we'll have a few track and field athletes along with Coach Ellenwood on Wednesday. That's the plan. I know there's a lot going on with FAMU right now. Obviously, those of you in the know have been paying attention to that. I don't have a look, Drew. I know we talk a lot of sports and other stuff. The only thing that I can really, because it really is a lengthier show and topic. The only thing I will say regarding the events of Friday afternoon or morning's presidential selection for Florida A&M University is that I was going to look this up. I was going to say, if you thought about conspiracies in sports, or let's just go pop culture, politics, whatever, get out of the movies for a second. But if you said, what are the 5 most interesting conspiracies that you have seen play out? What happened on Friday in Tallahassee has to rank as one of the greatest conspiracies that have ever been executed. I mean, with flawless precision. It really is. What was executed on Friday was a conspiracy at the highest level that at this point, Drew, because it was so blatant, and because it's so controlled by one strong political party right now, there is not much that you can do outside of understanding the importance of voting in your local and state elections.
Brian.
Because it played out. I mean, if they had written a playbook, which they had a playbook, Drew. You got to imagine they had a playbook. It played out to script in the playbook, to quote our board chair, like a Lifetime movie. It was unbelievable.
Brian, let's go to breaks so I can come back and give my 2 cents on this.
Yeah, I'll give you a chance to give your 2 cents, and then we can wrap up, because I don't think we got much more to get into after that. So let's do that. Let's take our final break and then come back on the other side of the BCSN SportsWrap with Bryan and A.D. And we'll be back right after these words.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loop machine.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia from She Say Sports. Make sure to check us out every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on Black College Sports Network, YouTube, and Linktree. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page.
Welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and A.D. here. Want to, again, encourage everybody who's watching, wherever, however you're watching us, hit the thumbs up and the like button if you would for us. And take that off for a second, Drew. Take that off. It's not. Anyway, do me a favor. Check out the BCSN Pod Zone everywhere that you listen to podcasts. BCSN Pod Zone, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Apple and Google Podcast, and more. Thank you to everybody who's been a part of we seeing the growth in some numbers. So thank you for downloading and subscribing. All right, Drew, before we get ready to close out the show here in the next 15, I wanted to give you a chance to kind of weigh in, get your thoughts in on what you saw from Friday's selection at presidential selection at Florida A&M. Are you on mute? Oh, okay, there you go.
Let's see. No, that was a pregnant pause.
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, this is. I'm trying to put my words together. Gotta play this. You know what this song is, Brian? Talking out the side of your neck. And the reason I played that, Brian, I got to stop it in my ear now. Anyway, the reason I played that, Brian, is because that's how I feel about certain individuals in this process. Before I go any further, Brian, I have to say that these opinions are my own and are not opinions of the Black College Sports Network or anyone else that I work for or that I am contracted to work for and or represent. But what I find interesting about the Marva, the fact that she was added to the selection process, and this is why I played Talking Out the Side of Your Neck, Brian, in a society where our government is trying to get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion. That candidate was the epitome of why you need to get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I don't know why she was included, because she is not our equal. And I question the diversity. You know, this is the thing that they have always argued about why we need to get rid of. Now, I understand why we need to get rid of it. At least in this instance. She was nowhere near as qualified as the other three candidates who were presented.
Nope.
But Brian, this did not happen in a vacuum.
No, it did not.
This is something that has been happening most recently since the 90s when we were in Tallahassee, when FAMU went from a Democratic state to a Republican state. I don't know if you were in school yet, but when I got to Tallahassee, Florida was a Democratic state.
I remember.
Yes, and it switched sometime while we were in school.
Jeb Bush, I believe it was the Jeb Bush era.
Yeah, it was
That's when it started.
I went from one Bush to the other Bush. I went from Jeb as my governor to HW as my president.
Mm-hmm.
But Brian, we could take this back to the 60s with the loss of the law school, the merging of the engineering school, and other things that have happened to Florida A&M University. The closing of the hospital, just 3 off the top of my head. This has been a slow grind that has come to an ugly head. Between what has happened at Tennessee State over the last year and a half and what has happened at Florida A&M University. Let me back that up. Let me preface that. Most of our HBCUs are in red states, Brian. Most of our HBCUs are in red states. So you take the playbook from Tennessee State and Florida A&M, and if your beloved institution is a public institution in a red state, beware, because this could happen to any one of our institutions. Yeah, our alumni bases are strong. Here's one of the problems, and here's one of the problems with the FAMU alumni base. Unlike you, Brian, you had an opportunity to vote. I did not, because I no longer live in the state of Florida. And that's what happens to a lot of our institutions. We go to our institutions out of state, we send our money back. But when it really comes down to it, we only have a limited voice because we no longer reside in that state. Us making sure that the people who are there are educated. Now, the fact that she's a Republican does not necessarily bother me because, yeah, she does have a seat at the table. Hell, Hump had ties to Republicans. And every president since Frederick Humphreys has had ties to Republicans. Just because you have a tie to a Republican does not make you a bad person. Because there are some Republicans who have done some good things recently. I'm not talking about the Abraham Lincoln Republicans, when the Republican was the party of the black people. I'm talking about recently. But to see this blatant and disrespect of our people, you had a faculty senate person who is supposed to be the voice of the faculty vote what he wanted to instead of the voice of the faculty.
Disregarded everything that the faculty had wanted. If you can impeach a faculty senate person, they should be doing this Monday. Next faculty sitting at me, you need to turn in this papers. All other in the state of Florida, all of these people are either directly appointed by the governor or by a board that is appointed by the governor. So the governor has total control over this board. You have one student who's on there representing the students, and I believe everybody else is appointed. Correct me if I'm wrong with that, Brian. Yes.
And what a lot of you all don't know, a lot of those terms on that board technically have expired, but those people still hold those positions. Now, why are they holding on to those positions? Or why has no one been reappointed? That's a conversation for another day. But when it came down to, hell, we had somebody who was appointed on Thursday and voted on Friday.
Crazy, isn't it?
How can you consciously vote if you haven't been in the hearings for the last 3 days. There's no way in hell you caught up with 30+ hours of testimony when you just got the job on Thursday. He should have abstained. If anybody, they didn't need his vote anyway. But the fact that you did that shows how rigged this system was.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we say we're gonna take away our money. Hell, they don't need our money. Somebody was throw the idea out there of FAMU finding a way to become a private institution. Y'all don't give now. How the hell FAMU gonna become a private institution when we don't give enough now?
That was used. That stat was used by somebody, by one of the board members, as their reasoning. The 6% who give stated something to the fact that we get most of our money from the state.
And that very well may be true. But one thing FAMU alum give in other ways. They don't. I'm almost afraid to say this. We don't give directly to the school because we don't trust the school with our money. We had enough problems getting our money up out of the school when we was there. That's why we don't trust the money giving it directly to the school and making sure it goes to the right person.
Maybe some truth to that. Yeah.
I'm just saying. I mean, Friday was a bad day for me. That was just the start of the day. I'm still gonna love the orange and green. I'm still gonna support the student athletes of the orange and green. But we as alumni, we raise hell about our athletic director and firing the athletic director, the multiple athletic directors that we've had recently. We wanted to push the former president out the door, Brian.
Yeah.
And pushing him out the door brings up this. I'm almost at the point, Brian. Was that a setup 2 years ago? Or was that was last year? That wasn't even 2 years ago.
No, yeah, it was last year.
Was that a setup?
Look, it's part of the investigative. It's part of, this is where a real, investigative journalist should really kind of research and how that all came to be, because it led to what occurred. I think, it led to what occurred. And had that not happened, Friday doesn't take place. And again, you brought up a great point about, and this is why I say the playbook was in play. When I had to receive texts that before the process, literally last Sunday, Drew, a week ago, that she already had the votes. So the word was out. And so despite the petitions, beside the key, when people start talking about your stakeholders, the Board of Trustees completely ignored everything from its stakeholders. The stakeholders being students 1, faculty 2, alumni 3. They ignored all 3 stakeholders and their overwhelming lack of support for one candidate and support for other candidates.
Right.
And that's the disheartening part. And for alums who sat on that board, shame.
For the alums who voted for her.
If you've seen that episode
had
of
4
Game
votes.
of Thrones, if you've seen that episode of Game of Thrones, Drew, you understand that is how they should be treated at the next homecoming or next event. Shame. Just a bell and people throwing feces and tomatoes. Shame.
We're not advocating violence.
Is it violent to throw feces and tomatoes? I don't know. Is that violent?
That's it.
That's violence? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, that's it.
But you get what I'm saying.
Right.
That's to the level of, and again, so it brings forth, a lot of people say, well, what do you do now? Well, at this point, you have to you have to vote. So it brings up the need to register voters, be aware of who we need to vote for, because you can't, if everybody in every political party is on the same page, the House is controlled by if the Senate, if the governor, the House, the Senate, the board of governors, if all of those people are all a part of the same party, right?
There's no accountability.
There's no accountability.
And
you can't even go to the national level, Drew, because they're all a part of the same party and all part of the same system.
What makes this situation even more discerning? Florida A&M is the only public HBCU of the 4 in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
HBCUs. Let this be a lesson to you. We say we come together. We need to come together for more than a football game, more than a basketball game. There are 100 HBCUs out there. There are about 50 to 60 of them are public HBCUs. Just like the Big Ten and everybody else made those alliances when Trump tried to pull, and the Ivy League, when Trump tried to pull the funding from Harvard. And what was it? It was one of the Big Ten schools also, and they band together. We dare you if you can. We have got to do the same thing.
Yeah.
We have got to do the same thing.
It's an opportunity. It's a wake-up call for alumni to give to. When
Jack State, A&T, Hampton. Well, I can't say Hampton because Hampton is private. A&T, Albany State, Savannah State, Fort Valley State, you name it, Mississippi Valley, every public HBCU.
Yeah.
This is something you need to prepare for if you're in a region.
An opportunity for alumni to gather, but not only financially support your school, and financially support your school, and to financially disavow the businesses that those board members own or support. Because economically and with your vote are the only 2 ways that you can really impact things for probably the next 16 to 18 months, Drew.
Brian, I'm going to put this out there. I challenge our leaders at our institutions. We come together for events such as the BAC SWAC Challenge and the Celebration Bowl. I challenge the leaders, the real leaders at each of our schools, while you're in Atlanta for one of those events, to get together and to strategize. When you go to the Bayou, strategize. When you go to the Magic City Classic, strategize. When you go to the OBC, strategize. We have got to come up with a platform because we can't depend on the government to do this. When we get to these classics, and you know who you are, alumni association presidents, be it chapter president or national president, you know who you are. Get together. Hell, everybody got an alumni association here in Atlanta. Everybody got alumni association in Dallas, Chicago, DC. Those are those places where we need to start and branch out from there. Before we get out of here, Brian, unless you had something else on this, because I'm about to talk down on this.
Yeah, no. I think you hit the main talking points. I think when those things happen, Drew, when people come together and meet,
action plans, not talk. We need actionable items.
Yeah, actionable items, and they have to be
achievable.
They have to be achievable, and they don't have to be big games. They have to be achievable, and they have to be realistic. And I think, again, that's what is so stark crazy about this situation. Again, if she were of any kind of, if she was equal to the other candidates on any type of level to run an education entity, right?
She don't even know who her peers are, Brian.
Bro, it's like asking it's like having, if you were hiring, let's take this to sports. If you're hiring an NBA coach and you've got 3 former assistant coaches in the NBA, maybe one of them was even a former NBA coach, but you went down and hired a high school, or even worse, a middle school basketball coach. He might have been the most successful middle school basketball coach, or even the most successful high school coach. But you're going to say, we were going to tap you to run this NBA franchise. You would all look at that organization and say, what the hell? That's what happened. That's the comparable of what happened. And it's not even like politics is like underneath the icing. But that wasn't even the heart of the bitterness and the beef. It was, she just wasn't qualified compared to the other 3. And nobody can dispute that. Not one survey, not one post analysis. Anybody who listened to those interviews and commentary,
to go with her position.
Does
what?
She
have a terminal degree?
Have a what?
A terminal degree. EDS, PhD.
I think she has a master's.
Hell, I got a master's. That don't mean I'm qualified to be president of FAMU.
I mean, if you know the right people, you might become the president of a university, I guess. I don't know. That's the part that, again, is they didn't even give us their best, Drew. They didn't even give us their best. They gave us what was available.
No, they didn't give us what was available. They gave us what they wanted. Because we had others available. They gave us what they wanted.
They didn't come to it. She has a law degree, so okay. There you go.
But is she a lawyer, or does she just have a law degree? There's a difference.
I don't know.
There's a difference.
I don't know. But shame. All right.
Before we get out of here, Mariah, I've got.
Yeah, let's quickly. Let's get ready to get out of here.
Put this to my heart. A lot of you guys Friday saw. Okay, she does have a terminal degree. Fangs up says she has a JD.
Okay.
Friday, about 3:00 local time, St. Louis, Missouri. We saw the devastating tornadoes that ripped through the heart of St. Louis, Missouri. A lot of you guys know St. Louis is my hometown. Born and raised in St. Louis, and until I left to go to Florida A&M University, that is what I call home. And the tornado made my old neighborhood look like somebody just dropped a bomb in the middle of it. Anybody who follows me on Facebook saw a couple of videos that I posted. Those videos that I posted were 5 blocks from my home house. Devastation. 5 people, they have been confirmed dead. Hopefully, there's not more than that have been but lives have been destroyed. Over 6,000 structures have been damaged in some way, shape, or form, including my home house. As part of our roof was ripped off of my mother's house. So it's it was a tough Friday. Also lost my nephew on Friday, so it's been a tough weekend, Brian. Been a tough weekend.
Yeah, man. My prayers and condolences to you and your family, and hopefully all of the folks in the Midwest, St. Louis, and other areas within the Midwest that were affected. It's turning into that time of the year where, you know, the tornadoes pick up.
And that tornado came out of nowhere. Yeah, we know we always see the thunderstorm warnings and say, you know, with the watches, the thunderstorm watch and the tornado watch. And for that tornado to hit in the middle of the city, where it did, it's not like it started outside the city and just came through the city. It literally touched down smack dab in the middle of the city and ripped through the West St. Louis, Central West End, and into the north side, and then picked up and then jumped over the river into Illinois and did some more damage. That doesn't happen. I mean, it's been a couple hundred years since something like that has happened. Never has a tornado gone through that part of St. Louis. And those areas would never be the same. You know, gentrification is about to happen to those areas, unfortunately, because a lot of those areas won't get rebuilt because of the values of the home and the property, and, you know, people go come up and buy the property for cheap now. So a lot of my childhood memories may be gone. So I'm sorry, y'all.
No, that's all right, Drew. I mean, it's
I have to go home next weekend.
Thank you guys for all of your thoughts, prayers for Drew and his family, just the community.
I'll take a hurricane over a tornado any day. You can plan for a hurricane. Tornadoes come out of nowhere.
You can. That's true. That's true. Neither is fun to deal with.
Neither is fine. Yeah. But at least I know to get the hell up out of town with a hurricane.
Yeah. Tornado.
There were people driving home who got picked up and their car got spun around 10 times.
Wow. So many things happening. We're just constantly reminded to stay prayerful. Wake up in the morning, say a prayer, whether it be for your friends, your family, your university, for God just to continue to shine his light and to bless those decisions that are being made and to protect the institutions and protect his people. He will, and we have faith. That's why we have faith. So with that said, want to encourage everybody that if you missed the first part of our show with Bethune-Cookman head coach Johnny Hernandez, I encourage you to go back and take a listen. We started the show with a great interview by Coach, and we did a good breakdown of the SWAC Baseball Tournament all in the first hour. So if you missed any parts of it, go back and check it out on YouTube or Facebook, or you can even do us better, is go download the BCSN Pod Zone everywhere that you listen to podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple and Google Podcasts, all of those places, BCSN Pod Zone. And hit the thumbs up and the like button. Some of y'all are holding out. I don't know what's going on. Why don't nobody want to hit the thumbs up and the like button? What's going on tonight? But anyway.
One last thing, Brian.
Yeah, close it out.
Introductory press conference for Morehouse's new basketball coach, head coach Larry Dixon, will occur at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, right here on the Black College Sports Network. So if you want to find out about the new Morehouse basketball coach, make sure you tune in here tomorrow morning and see the live press conference right here on the Black College Sports Network and also on the Maroon Tiger Sports Network.
All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for being a part of the show. For A.D. Drew, I'm Brian Fulford. Thanks for watching tonight. Be well. Have a great week. And God bless you all. Peace out.
Travel light, everybody. Mahalo.
Stay on hard.